Hello, good evening. This is Cam's Critical Reflection, assignment number 1. Is here, choose a quote from one of the readings and critically analyze its philosophical implications for implementation in an educational setting. I chose a quotation from the course pack, page 12. It's in regards to visualization, and the quote is, quote, "Visualization can also be used as a way to connect with students." I thought right there when I read this passage, I thought, wow, what a great topic, and how I very much agree with that quote. I was lucky as a young athlete. I was introduced to visualization at a very young age. The book was called The Pursuit of Excellence. It was written by Terry Orlick, Dr. Terry Orlick, and it talked a lot about visualization, imagery, um, positive self-talk, and I basically learned from ski racing. I started probably when I was 11 or 12 years old to visualize. It started with coaches and with the pursuit of excellence. Um, and it was I used to visualize the race course, and my coaches started to get me into visualization at a young age. And I would visualize the race course, and they would tell me to close my eyes and to visualize and to watch myself go down the ski hill and perform successfully over each turn from the start to the finish. As we were inspecting the course, getting prepared for the race, my coaches would often say, close your eyes and visualize yourself going down the ski hill, executing proper technique, proper cornering, proper turning. Um, and it was amazing, and I used it all throughout my ski racing career. And you could really, as I became a better visualization master, visualizer, you could really see yourself and feel yourself going down the hill, which was amazing. And you'd perform this several thousands of times in your mind, and then by the time you had to execute at the race, it was second nature. So even all throughout my ski racing career up until last year as an Olympic athlete, Canadian Sports Center, we had sports psychologists at training camps talking about visualization and mental imagery and how important it was. And it was amazing, and I'm blessed that I've had the luxury of being exposed to this great technique at such a young age, and now I'm in my Master of Education. I'm learning about visualization. Wow, I'm almost an expert at visualization. So I used it all throughout my athletic career, which I thought was great, and that's really been my main career up until now. I'm 34 years old. I'll be 34 years old on February 3rd. And for the better part of, let's see, 25, 24 years, I've been visualizing successful events, successful runs, and I used it mainly in an athletic sense. But then now that I've been thinking about it a little more and reflecting, me as a student has used visualization, okay, very frequently. I'd visualize presentations when I was to speak in front of the class as a student in my undergrad. Even if I think about it now, as I go back to high school and grade school, I used visualization before I did presentations in front of the class. I'd often visualize myself. I used it as an athlete at university again. I always keep referring back to my athletic days, and but I think it's a great tool, and I used it as a varsity soccer player. I was on the Nipissing University varsity soccer team for 5 years, and I often visualize myself having success on the soccer pitch, scoring goals, in pregame warm up on the bus trips from the hotel to the stadiums. I'd be sitting on the bus and I'd close my eyes and I'd visualize myself scoring goals, and sure enough, during the game I'd score a goal, and I'd have to execute my successful victory celebration, my goal scoring celebration. So it was amazing. It was often a lot of foreshadowing, which was very bizarre, but I guess that's why we use visualization, to become comfortable in the situation. Um, and as a student, I also use visualization to see myself have success on tests. If I was nervous, often before exams or tests, I would visualize myself being successful. And often enough, and sure enough, all these prophecies came true. So, as I was reading and as I've been thinking, do we teach visualization to students in the classroom today? I don't think I've come across it yet. Last year in a leadership class, one of my LTOs, I kind of dabbled and brought in visualization um, to the senior students, and I showed them the Wheel of Excellence by Terry Orlick, and it was not in the curriculum, but I brought it in anyways, and I thought it was great that these students were exposed to this Wheel of Excellence, he called it. And it talked about commitment and belief and visualization and imagery and positivity. And I think it's all these great things that holistic education talks about. It's not just about the curriculum, it's about being well rounded and whole and encompasses everything. So I think it's great. And as an educator, how can we use visualization? And how do I use visualization as an educator? Well, in my brief career as an educator, I've used visualization in the class before the classroom. Before I get into the classroom, I use it to visualize my performance in the classroom. Perhaps I visualize a lecture, or I visualize how I'm planning a lesson to go, or I visualize how effective I am in front of the class. Sometimes I visualize myself interacting with the students. I often visualize the students and me in the student's shoes. I visualize myself as a student, and I visualize what kind of engagement level they might have. And I also go one step further, and I visualize the students having success, and I visualize me as them, and I put myself in their shoes. And then I kind of sometimes think, yeah, well, you know what? For the students, I don't feel bad. I feel for the students when I'm sitting there and I give them 3 or 4 handouts as a supply teacher and say, read between the lines and answer these 5 pages of questions. I feel for the students when they say, this is brutal. This is the worst. I hate this. This is so boring. I say, yeah, I kind of agree with the students. So, anyways, that was off to a little bit of a side tangent, but I often use visualization. And as an educator, I just think visualization is very important, and I'm not really sure if students are taught visualization or if they've been exposed to visualization. And I know as a coach, and I like to compare often coaching and teaching, I think they're very similar. I use visualization all the time as a coach. I always ask my athletes to visualize. I try to teach them how to close their eyes and think positive images and use imagery and watch themselves performing the task. I often tell my soccer team to visualize success at night, visualize how they're going to play in the morning. I often tell my forwards to visualize scoring goals. I talk about my defense and ask them to visualize them clearing the ball out of danger, helping the goalie, not conceding a goal. And of course, I use visualization as a ski coach. I'm always asking my athletes to visualize and to close their eyes and to put positive images through their mind and to see themselves performing in action. And really what it boils down to is it reduces anxiety. Visualization is a great stress reducing tool. It's used, really, I think about all the ways I use it, and it's to reduce anxiety. And even as an educator, I want to reduce my anxiety before I enter the classroom. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not sure how the lesson's going to go. I'll simply visualize it and I'll feel at ease. Just last week, I used visualization before I went into an interview. I was visualizing myself answering interview questions successfully. But I think visualization is a huge, huge, huge Important element of successful living and success, daily, day-to-day life, and that's what we're all about here in this education business, is to educate the student to have success in lifelong learning. So, are we teaching the students how to visualize? So the question is, how can we use visualization to connect with our students? I think as a teacher and as an educator, I use visualization to put myself in the student's shoes, to visualize performances. But how do we really connect with the students? Today, in one of the science classes that I was substituting for, I asked the students, has anyone ever been taught visualization? I also put down 3 or 4 different other terms on the board. I put down unschooling, free schooling, meditation, and visualization. And I asked the students in my grade 10 science class if anyone has ever seen the term visualization, or if anyone has ever been exposed to visualization. And 1 out of 16 students said they have. And then I asked them a few more questions about visualization, and they didn't know why or whatever happened and who taught them. So it was very vague response. But I think as students, and how can students and educators and teachers connect and come together? I think we could ask our students to visualize themselves as teachers and as educators, put themselves in our shoes and see how they would act and react. Because there's an awful lot of complaints in the classroom, but maybe if the students, on the other hand, looked at it from an educator's point of view, maybe their point of view would be different and their opinions would be different. I think visualization for students can also allow them to dream. I think as an educator, we could ask our students to close their eyes and to visualize and to picture themselves in their dream, or pursuing their passion, pursuing their dream. And I think that's a good way that teachers and educators can connect with students. I think it builds better rapport. I think it allows the students to be creative. If you ask them to visualize themselves being successful, I think that's a great way to be creative, to have the student think of all the great possibilities and the sky is the limit. I also think it builds trust, and it allows the students to explore, and I think those are great. Those are um, often overlooked. Those qualities are often overlooked today in education, and we're not allowing our students to be free and to be creative. And in one of the readings that I read the curriculum is similar to a straitjacket. It's similar to a production line, a factory of workers producing all the same work. And is that what we're really after as educators and as education? Is that what we're trying to do to our students? To create uniform society? I don't think so. And anyways, I think visualization would be is a great tool for educators, for students, and just for every person in the world, really, to visualize and to see themselves having great success. I think it's a wonderful way to get outside the box and start thinking and start being creative and bringing some imagination and some creativity back